We visited Andries at Three Bushketeers, a wholesale production nursery in Hartbeespoort in South Africa. Three Bushketeers are known throughout the country for producing high-quality colour for the retail and landscaping industries. But Andries was looking for different ways to make the nursery more profitable and saw demand for fresh produce in the local market. With the infrastructure already in place, he has started growing chilies and turmeric. In this video, he gives us some tips for how he grows his fresh produce. So if you are looking for alternative ways to boost your nursery's income, stay tuned.
I've decided to on producing turmeric and more edible plants, and plants that we can use in not just as edible plants, but also with the idea that the plant may have an additional value, like a medicinal value, which can add to the value of a plant and open a wider and a bigger market to us as producers and suppliers. The rhizomes we've bought from the fresh market, we've selected the big rhizomes and the smaller rhizomes. The smaller rhizomes, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, or 2 inches. Those ones we will plant in pots. The bigger rhizomes, 3 inches or 4 inches, those are the rhizomes that we have planted earlier. It's important when you select the plants that you select the rhizomes with a lot of nodes, like that one, for example. We're going to start to plant the turmeric rhizomes. We have prepared a mix of coir and peat moss, and there's a percentage of bark in as well. So basically we want to plant the turmeric rhizomes about 2 inches deep, 4 inches apart, 4 by 4. So stick my hand into the soil, open the cavity or push it in. And that's basically how we plant it. We have treated the rhizomes for 24 hours by putting it in clean water, so that the water can, the rhizomes can absorb the water, so that the rhizome doesn't need to absorb water from the substrate in which it's planted.
We will visit Andries again later in the season to see how his turmeric has grown. If you'd like to catch that video, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We will also link additional videos in the description. As we mentioned, Andries also grows chilies. He'll now show us how he grows his plants from seed all the way up to harvest.
These are the chilies that we have seed that we have sown, harvested from the fruits which we selected. So big fruits, try to select those ones, harvest the seed from those ones, dry it, and we try to plant it as fresh as possible. Doesn't wait too long.
When did you sow these?
These were sown about 2 weeks ago, but we keep them piled up in the hot dust because it's getting colder, so they take a longer time to germinate. And as you can see, they are starting to germinate now. They are starting.
A quick note here, if you're wondering why he uses bricks, he explained off camera that it helps circulate warm air through the seedling trays. There is a geyser and a pump at the back that circulates warm water through the pipes in the greenhouse. If the trays were just placed on the cold concrete, germination would be a lot slower. So elevated trays can help increase the temperature throughout the medium to boost germination speed. It also reduces waterlogging, which helps prevent waterborne diseases becoming a problem.
Eventually the chilies that we have sown and which you saw germinating, once they're like that, we will transplant into a 12 centimeter container, just as to save space and cost. To use a smaller container, it's going to be cheaper because you're not going to pay that much on the substrate that you're going to use, but at least you will get the plant a little bit of a kickstart. You can't leave this plant in the seedling tray forever. The longer you leave it in the seedling tray, the more the root bound it will get, and the roots will eventually grow into the polystyrene. So the sooner you can get it out, the better. I planted the seedlings into the pots to give the plant a little bit of an advantage during the winter time, and from here the plants are going into the 12-liter containers. At least the plants are, they're not in the seedling trays.
Yeah.
But during the winter time we can't keep it in the seedling, these plants in the seedling trays. Because that's the time when you need the most money to do production. We've planted these plants just to save a little bit time and money. So these plants will be taken out from these pots and will be transplanted into the 12-liter bags. The reason why we planted these plants in the containers like this is, as I've said, to save the time, because we can plant a lot of plants in a shorter time. We can keep them safe and protected in the hothouses during the winter time, and when summertime comes we can start to transplant them to the pots.
Hard.
Difficult, very difficult to get them germinated. They need special care. Carolina Reaper needs special care. As you can see here, every plant is supplied with a dripper. The water which we supply the plants with is treated, so with acid, so that we can control and regulate the pH. It's very important to control the pH.
What's the ideal pH?
About 6.9 on these ones. That's why we need to have a drippers, because if you treat the water becomes more expensive. So you have to apply the water targeted, and don't waste water with the overhead irrigations where 50 or 60% of the water that you apply goes to waste. So it's a pretty expensive exercise initially.
And your medium, what does that mean?
The coir, peat moss and bark mixture in a certain percentage. Once these plants are established, they can last for about 3 to 4 years. The serranos, we can prune them back. This is what we actually want to achieve by pruning the plant, to create a plant with a lot of stems, so that the plant can produce more stems on which it can produce flowers and fruit. These plants are not 100% happy at the moment, because we are in the middle of winter and we harvested a couple of times before, but hopefully when August comes we'll harvest a lot again. Chili plants are stimulated by harvesting. The more often you harvest on a chili plant, the more fruits the plant will produce. More flowers, more fruit. Because we are in winter and it's colder, it takes a longer time to color. So we had to wait for the fruits to color, and that had an effect obviously on the new fruit set and the development of new flowers. So the plants were a little bit under stress because they had fruits longer on the plant, so they shed the leaves, but the new leaves are developing. As you can see, there's new leaves developing. We have applied fertilizer, so soon enough we'll harvest and roast again. You can see an example of how we're starting to prune the plants, so that the plant can produce more shoots on the side, so that the plant have more stems on which it can develop flowers and then fruit. Some plants we have not pruned because the shape is adequate. We are applying fertilizer at the moment because we are at the end of the winter, so we're applying fertilizer to stimulate the plant to help it to grow and develop new leaves and stems. These plants have been cut back so we need to apply extra fertilizer to those plants. It's basically nitrogen, and so that we can just get new growth on the plant. People ask me about the pollination, the cross-pollination that is going on in the hothouse, and we're planting, there's the 11 different varieties which we have planted together. The thing is that luckily, because we can close the doors and the ventilation hatches, we don't have a lot of insects in the hothouse. So we're not worried a lot about the cross-pollination that is going on, but we do have plants which we have selected, which we try to pollinate and create another variety, something that is maybe a little bit hotter than other varieties. So we are trying to do that.
How do you know when to harvest your chilies?
To harvest the chilies, obviously you have to look at the coloration of the fruits. So you can't harvest a plant like a fruit like this if it's still green. It will continue to stay green on the shelf at the end user. So to get the best product, you have to harvest the plant when it's fully discolored. Just for the fresh market, they prefer the fresh fruit, but there's also market the dry fruit. So all these fruits that you see here, these are the fruits which were maybe too small, a little bit crooked, like that one. So these were not sufficient and good enough quality to supply to the fresh market. Fresh market wants like a nice straight fruits, but the dried ones can be a little bit crooked, a little bit shorter. These are actually quite hot. The dried serrano chilies are hotter than when it's still fresh and green. Would you like to try one?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
They're lovely. So obviously it takes a little bit longer to sort them, because you must still get rid of the stem, the stalk at that end. But it's a lucky product. Obviously the dry chilies, you can use the dry chilies if you fry the chilies with cinnamon and a little bit of ginger in a pot, and once it's scorched, then you add oil to that, and then you will make a beautiful and a lekker delicious infusion of the oil. That oil you can then use as you use normal oil, cooking oil, but the taste of the food will be much better.